Paul Heyman, I mentioned, he was back on Raw. First time we've seen him in weeks since Bron Breakker accidentally speared him through the barricade. He was back on Raw, not with the Vision, or what's left of the Vision, because Breakker wasn't even on the show. Neither was Logan Paul. Neither was Bronson Reed. It was basically down to just Austin Theory. Austin Theory was as surprised as anybody to see Paul Heyman on the show. He had no idea Paul was even going to be there. And when he said this to Paul, Paul looked at him and said, well, now you know. And he walked off. He looked annoyed that the fall guy was giving him grief. Well, now it sounds like the Vision may well be coming to an end. Surprise, surprise, this should have happened a while ago. But according to a report from WrestleVotes Radio on Thursday, there is said to be a split opinion regarding the future of the Vision. The report notes that some within WWE feel the Vision should continue, but only if the group is reimagined, including changes to the faction's lineup. Others in WWE, however, feel the group has run its course, which it absolutely has, and that it's time to let the pieces fall where they may. The report continues to state that regardless of what happens with the Vision, Paul Heyman is still expected to remain paired with Bron Breakker, with Heyman viewed as an important part of Breakker's presentation. On Raw this week, Austin Theory approached Heyman backstage and said Heyman had not been returning his calls. And if Heyman is not returning your calls, that's probably a pretty bad sign for the future of the Vision. Look, the Vision is no longer needed. The Vision, here's what the Vision should have been. The Vision should have been, when Seth Rollins got injured, but even before Seth Rollins got injured, I think the long-term vision, no pun intended, for this group, one goal: elevate Bron Breakker to main event babyface status. That should have been the singular goal of the Vision. Not unlike when Evolution was formed. Many years ago, Triple H was the leader, Ric Flair was the veteran, but clearly the idea was to elevate Batista and especially Randy Orton. That was the long-term goal. And Randy Orton, look, I'm not saying Randy Orton didn't benefit from being in Evolution. They did stuff with him that really bungled his career there for a little bit. It was more Batista who was the more immediate beneficiary of being a part of that group. Orton ended up being okay. But that was the goal there. The goal here should have been Bron Breakker, elevate him to being, if not our top guy, one of our top 2 or 3 guys. This is the guy that we want to be way up here, right, for years to come. And he's kind of taken a back seat recently to Obafemi. Doesn't mean that they've given up on him, but he's not the shiny new toy anymore. When Seth Rollins got hurt, the move to make with the Vision was to essentially make Bron Breakker the lead force in the group. And I thought that's what they were going to do. If you remember when Breakker turned on Rollins, he was scary that night. Walked up to Bronson Reed, basically, you're with me or you're against me. Went up to Heyman, you're with me or you're against me. But he was the one calling the shots. And I'm like, okay, we're getting to this a little bit quicker than I thought, but okay, strap the rocket and let's go. Right? Fucking LFG, let's do this. And then the very next week, he was right back to being Bron Breakker, like the lapdog, falling in line. Paul Heyman was now the de facto leader of the Vision, and not just the Oracle or whatever he was calling himself at the time, the advisor. And Bron Breakker, like they had an opportunity there, and they squandered it. They squandered it. That was the first time they fucked it up. And then as the months dragged on, obviously Breakker got hurt, so he had to go away for a while. It just was like, what are we doing here? What is the purpose? What is the point of this group? Bronson Reed got hurt. Everybody was getting hurt. This group is cursed. Logan Paul gets hurt. So we're down to Austin Theory, and the only reason Theory was even added to the group, as I've been saying from day one, was to be the fall guy. When the Vision has to lose, we'll have Austin Theory go in there and take the losing fall because we don't want to beat Logan Paul too much. We don't want to beat Bron Breakker too much, although he did lose this fucking feud to Seth Rollins. Bronson Reed went away, but even if Bronson Reed didn't get hurt, you wouldn't want to be beating him all the time. So let's get somebody in there who could take the L's. Hey, Austin, come on over. I mean, at least he's been in a better position than he was when he was just hanging out with Grayson Waller and couldn't even get on the show. Poor fucking Waller, he can't get on the show these days to save his life. So at least Theory is getting TV time, but who is this really benefiting at this point? This is not the Judgment Day where you can just have a turnover on the roster. Well, we'll just turn these guys out. We'll bring 3 or 4 new guys in. Just blow up the whole fucking group. Disband the faction. Whatever purpose it was intended to serve or it did serve, it no longer is serving. It is a waste of time. It brings down Paul Heyman. The more people you stick with him, and it doesn't really work out. Bron Breakker and Paul Heyman, I get that. You want to keep the two of them together? Fine. That's fine. You want to keep him as a Heyman guy? That's fine. I still feel like coming out of this loss to Seth Rollins at the end of this program, that the role for Bron Breakker is going to be as just this badass, kick-ass babyface. I don't mean like smiley babyface. You know what I mean, the ass kicker babyface. And I don't know why then he would necessarily need Paul Heyman with him for that. Like, we're getting a tag team championship rematch tomorrow night. Austin Theory and Bron Breakker are going to challenge the Street Profits for the World Tag Team titles. And I'm going to be very disappointed if this match ends any other way, but them losing again, and then Bron Breakker fucking destroying Austin Theory, like cutting him in half with a spear. And let that be the end of the Vision. Let them officially kill the Vision tomorrow. When Bronson Reed comes back, if you want to have him target Bron Breakker, you could do that. You could actually feud them. If we had a healthy tag team division in this company, I actually would not be against the idea of putting Breakker and Reed back together as kind of like a full-time tag team for a while, but they don't. The reality is they do not have a strong tag team division. And Bron Breakker being involved in that is a complete waste of Bron Breakker, so that's not really much of an option. But to answer the original question, should the Vision be kept together or split up? The Vision should be blown up by dynamite. And I'm not talking about the AEW kind. Speaking of Bron Breakker, this became a story this week. This is just so ridiculous. So at Night of Champions, he had the cage match with Seth Rollins. During the course of the cage match, and I believe it was on the superplex spot from the top of the cage through the table down below, Breakker got cut open on his face. Half his face ended up being just covered in blood. It was a great visual. I really think it added to the match. We don't see that very often in WWE. After the event, fans started reporting that on Netflix, which is, where the show airs internationally, his entire face was being blurred out after he was busted open. It wasn't just like they turned the screen black and white, or they tried something where they covered up like a part of his face, which I guess would have been tough to do. They literally blurred the man's entire... He looked like some sort of entity out of a horror movie. They just put a blur over the man's face for the remainder of the match. And according to PW Insider, blurring Breakker's head was done by WWE itself. The report notes that in addition to blurring his face, some camera angles used during the live broadcast were replaced with alternate shots on the Netflix replay. And in what was described as a common practice for WWE replays on Netflix, they also noted that the holy shit chants after Rollins put Breakker through the table were replaced with "This is awesome" chants. Boy, Netflix is they're really dropping the hammer on this, aren't they? And I could still remember when WWE moved to Netflix. Oh boy, it's going to be so much more risque on the show. Now they're on Netflix. They're not on broadcast cable anymore. I should point out these edits are not on the ESPN Unlimited version. So even if it's WWE making the actual edits, this sounds like a Netflix thing, that WWE was asked to make the edits, because it makes no sense otherwise why they wouldn't do it on ESPN if they're doing it on Netflix. This sounds like a Netflix thing, and I can't understand why.